Do you ever get those moments where you wish others were there? Those moments which are just so funny that you still laugh about them years later? I've got a few of those, and I want to share them with you guys, and they're all furry related or they are involved with nothing but furries in some way. So I thought I'd make a video and share them, and this is only going to be part 1. I'm going to be making a series of these. But first, I want to quickly mention that I have moved away from X/Twitter. If you want to follow me on socials, well, for socials rather, it would be better to follow me on bluesky, and you can find the address in the description or on screen right now. The reason for this? Amongst other things, I am getting really sick of seeing nothing but blue check-marked people in my feed fighting over who gets to suck Elon Musk's first. If you want the full details, however, go look at my final post on X or just look at my bluesky. But anyway, on with the video. Earlier last year, I went to Germany to visit my good friend Gannen, and whilst there, we were joined by a few others, those being Riyo, Overlay, and Toffels. After I arrived at Gannen's flat for this week-long furry vacay, Gannen offered me a little something to smoke. Now, I just want to point out 2 things. 1, I am not promoting the use of cannabis, and 2, this is completely legal in Germany. Anyway, I got comfy at Gannen's and, well, I had a few draws on this thing that he gave me, and it kind of went something like this.
A few moments later.
Oh yeah, I can feel that.
5 minutes later.
Oh wow. I can really feel that, holy shit.
20 minutes later.
Gannen, what the f*** did you give me? I was sent to space because of the green stuff, and myself and Gannen just chilled out, but that didn't last long. You see, the thing is, when you're stoned, your thoughts tend to feel more entertaining and somehow make more sense than they actually should. So, whilst we were really high, we had a great idea. We decided to go to a shopping mall that was close by. Don't worry, we didn't drive or anything. And we bought a single copy of Aquaman and nothing else. And then we went right back to Gannen's flat, watched this Blu-ray, and we both thought it was shit. And that's it. Time well spent.
America, fuck yeah, coming again to save the motherfucking day, yeah, America.
The year was 2022, and I was at my very first, convention ever. This was at Confuzzled, and it was an amazing experience, and many of us that had met in VR chat were eager to meet IRL at this convention. We had people from all over the globe here, including a very good friend of mine from the US called Swotter. One day at the con, Grem and Riyo were having a room party and it was packed. There was a sea of furries in the room, and Grem and Riyo had worked really hard to advertise this and make sure a lot of people knew about it. We even had a guest star, Nicolas Cage. Well, a cutout of him. If you saw the Nicolas Cage cutout in any of the windows, that was their room. There was also a cutout of King Charles around the hotel for some reason as well. In fact, this Nicolas Cage cutout was actually in Grem's window for a while after the con, back at his old flat because Riyo couldn't take it home, and some drunk people from the city actually posted pictures on Wakefield's Facebook page, commenting, "Why is there a cutout of Nicolas Cage staring down at them in the centre of Wakefield?" Ah, Wakefield. Never change. Anyway, the party was going great, apart from one person being sick. And I was talking to my friend Swotter near the room's balcony, and Swotter said he felt a bit nauseous. He looked over my head and saw the sea of furries in the room and started to look for a way through so we could get to the bathroom. I turned around to chat to some more people, just for a moment, but when I turned back, Swotter, he was gone. He just vanished. And so I walked onto the balcony, only to be greeted by him standing on the hotel's roof. Now, it's actually kind of difficult to explain this bit without any sort of visual aid, but luckily this world has whiteboards and a laser pen, so I should be able to explain it to you. Hopefully this gives a bit of context to what I'm trying to get across. Now, the thing is when you might be told that someone climbed on the roof of the hotel, you might be thinking like some giant hotel that's like 15 stories high and they're at the very top of it. No, that's not actually what happened. So, you've got to imagine that each one of these balconies here, these little lines, this is like a side view. So each one of these is a balcony for floor 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. And in the centre of these two areas of the hotel that are facing each other, there's the roof, just along here, and there's the pool, which is down here. The pool is beneath this bit here, and this is the glass dome for the actual pool itself. And this is the area that's all quite filthy, and there's a Bible on there for some reason, I seem to remember. But Swotter jumped from here to here. So he didn't jump on the very top of the hotel, he jumped from a second floor balcony onto the roof that connects these areas. No sooner than he jumped over onto the roof, he puked. But then someone above us started yelling something at him, so he quickly jumped back onto the balcony. Now, being quite drunk, I didn't quite realise the gravity of what just happened. Swotter had just stood on the hotel's roof, a place where hotel residents definitely shouldn't be, and this situation was about to get much worse. It turns out that the person who saw Swotter from above us actually took a picture of him and sent it to the con's staff. About 10 minutes after this happened, there was a loud knocking on the door. It was con security, who demanded that the party be shut down, and they wanted to find the person in said photo. They pulled Swotter aside and asked anyone who was a resident of the hotel to go back to their rooms. All non-residents were asked to stay because the staff wanted to talk to them, because apparently, and we didn't know this at the time, non-hotel residents have to leave at 2 AM, and it was just past 2 AM. By the way, this rule is f***ing stupid. I have been to Confuzzled more than once since then, and the rule is still there. They're the only con I know that does this, but I think it's the hotel who are actually imposing this rule, rather than the con staff itself. Some hotels are just weird like that. Anyway, I was told to leave at this point, so I did, and I just went to bed. The next day, I found out what happened after I had left. It turns out that the roof Swotter was stood on was right next to the hotel's pool, as I described earlier, and part of that was mostly made out of glass. This was not meant to take a human's weight. If you look at the glass windows around the pool, they were filthy, and, they can't clean them because it's really difficult to sort of get to them from above because you need very specialist equipment and it's expensive. So, yeah, not the best idea in the world. Swotter had put himself in a lot of danger by standing on the roof, and the hotel was not happy, to say the least. Swotter was, unsurprisingly, banned from the con. A lot of people on Twitter and Telegram were talking about how some crazy individual went on the roof and such. And if you heard about that, that was us. But there seems to be a bit of misinformation that he literally went onto the very top of the convention's, highest floor and climbed onto the roof on there. That wasn't true. That's not what happened. As you saw earlier, he was on the area where the pool roof is, in the central area, and it was the second floor. I would like to point out that Swotter was completely amicable and agreeable during all of this. What he did was wrong, and he knows that, and I'm not defending him in that way. He took full responsibility, however, for all of his actions, like the absolute legend he is. One staff member, though, was not very nice. Honestly, they spoke to people at the party like shit and came across as a hall monitor on a power trip. They seem to have forgotten that the vast majority of people there have not actually broken any rules. They asked questions like, "Do you know how many people at this party were not hotel residents?" And Grem was just like, "Of course we don't. We don't vet all our friends, we just invited them." They also kept interrupting Swotter when he tried to tell them that it was all his fault, but he kept doing this thing where he would "We're not talking to you, we're not talking to you, we're talking to them. Not you, we're not talking to you right now. Just stop, we're talking to them instead." Just really, really rude and childish. I know he broke the rules, and he shouldn't have done what he did, but he wasn't being an arsehole, he wasn't being difficult, no one was. But this was only one member of staff. Maybe he was having a bad day and he was just overly pissed off at the situation. You know, I know it was bad, but when you're in a position of power, you need to be level-headed. But the staff that we spoke to the next day about this whole situation, though, were really lovely, understanding and polite, but firm, which is the way it should have been from the start. But anyway, I digress. This is how Swotter jumped on the roof at a party and was banned from the con for 5 years. This was Swatter's first con and first time in the UK. He was very bummed out over this. He took it in his stride and a couple of friends who were not attending the con let him stay at their place. So yeah, this concludes the infamous Swotter story. I hope this extra information clears up any rumours surrounding this event.
Drink, 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 blue eyes that are bright as stars from the shining one. Drink, and drink, drink.
Another moment from 2021. I was heading to Grem's apartment in Wakefield, and with me was a bottle of very fancy whiskey called Ardbeg. Ardbeg is a heavily peated whiskey. If you don't know what that means, all you really need to know is that it's very smoky, it has a very smoky smell and flavour, and it's delicious. The reason I was heading there with this was because Riyo was actually going to Grem's flat, and this is the first time he had done so. He had travelled all the way from like the London area, which was quite a trek, and this was several months after Grem had actually split up with his ex, and he was very nervous because he had developed quite a bit of a crush on this Fox boy recently. I arrived at Grem's flat, said my hellos, and proceeded to relax. And this place was spotless. It was immaculate. I think he must have like cleaned the skirting boards and the walls as well. It looked like a show home. Like if a flat was a show home to like be shown off to new tenants, that's how clean it was. So anyway, whilst I was chilled out, admiring all of Grem's hard work, I decided to pour myself some whiskey while we waited for the imminent arrival of Riyo. So I opened up this bottle to pour myself a wee dram, and then I proceeded to spill this very smoky, strong whiskey all over his kitchen countertop. Now his whole flat smelt like a whiskey distillery. Grem was not happy, to say the least. I apologised profusely, obviously, but to this day he still laughs and occasionally brings it up, because now his crush's first impression was, it probably made him think that Grem was brewing his own spirits in his flat or something, and Grem doesn't even like whiskey, so yeah, sorry Grem. So there you have it, 3 stories from the fandom. I'm going to be making more of these, and I have plenty of stories to tell. I actually really like telling stories like this. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed that, and I will see you later. Actually, lastly, before I finish, I'm sorry it's been a while since I made a video, but after the charity stream I did, I took a little break, and then Christmas happened. But I made a short that I was going to release over Christmas, but it wasn't up to my... It wasn't up to my normal standards, so I didn't release it. And then I got sick over New Year's. So, yeah, that happened. But that's all done and dusted now, and I will see you all later. And I hope you all join me next time for more Tales from the Furry Fandom with Vox. Bye-bye now.